Hey guys, welcome back. This is our Wednesday installation. We're breaking down books out of my library to help you market your business better. Now, as we go on, I'm going to do a little bit of intro here. The goal of this process is to get you that much closer, every week to get you that much closer to a CEO reading level. Now, they say the average CEO reads a book a week. Now, we're not going to get you that close, but every week I'm going to be breaking down a major point from a book out of my library. As you can see, a lot of them back here and a bunch more behind me, behind the camera. I'll be helping you break down these books and actually implement them into your marketing, into your business, into your productivity, getting you that much closer. So every week we're going to be breaking that down, and this is week 4, episode 4. We're going to be concentrating on using emotion. We're going to be concentrating on using emotion to get people to do your marketing for you. Imagine that. What if you could put out some content, put something out there that got people to handle your own marketing for you? And that's what we're going to be looking at. So week 4 here with Contagious. All right, so we've already got some people signing on here. All right, and as I said, we're looking at emotion right now. All right, so the two big things I want you to consider when using emotion in your marketing is 1, when we care, we share, and 2, motion creates emotion. Now, these sound a little bit hokey, and for a good reason, they are, because I want them to stick into your head. These are important things to remember, and I'm going to show you how you can implement these into your marketing as well. So this is our 4th and final week in Contagious by Jonah Berger. All right, so I'm going to keep these up on Facebook. You'll be able to find these just about at any point, and hopefully doing some cool things with them here shortly to get things out to the people that weren't able to join us on the live casts. All right, but every month we'll be breaking down one more book. So stick around for next year, or pardon me, stick around for 2017. We break down a bunch of more books, 12 more books throughout the entire year, and give you the content, give you the action items that you need to actually implement on these books, as opposed to just read them and let them fly out of your head. All right, so the big thing when looking at emotion with your marketing is figuring out which ones are the best ones to capitalize on. There's a lot out there. There's awe, there's excitement, there's humor, there's anger, sadness. All right, and there's been a lot of studies done about which ones are best to make sure that people not just remember your brand, but remember it favorably and then share your content, because that's the overall goal, is you want people ready to share your content, because shared content, that's all earned media. That's people literally doing your marketing for you, making sure that their friends know about this brand because they found it interesting, they found it important, they found it useful. All right, so your goal with capitalizing on emotions is going for that earned media, getting people to pay for your marketing. All right, because honestly, if you don't have to pay, if people do your marketing for you, you don't have to pay for it. That money can go somewhere else. It can go back into your business. Hell, it can go back into your pocket. All right, it can go right back into sending you on your next vacation. All right, so figuring out the best emotions to capitalize on, and the big one that I'm going to concentrate on to start with is awe. Awe is a massive emotion that you can capitalize on. The biggest thing that most people associate awe with is the Grand Canyon. It renders people speechless. All right, they just sit there and they stare at it. They don't know how to process that. All right, and the science behind this they find that articles that can capitalize on awe, or content that can capitalize on awe, tends to get shared that much more. All right, because it carries high social currency, high social value. People see that and they think, damn, I have to tell my friends about this. This is the conversation piece they use at the bar. All right, this is something of great knowledge, of beauty, of might, things like that. So go back to things like, let's pick on Susan Boyle for a minute. Susan Boyle is a great example of awe because she's a very unassuming character. For those of you who don't remember Susan Boyle stepped out of Britain's Got Talent. She was 47 years old at the time, wasn't a particularly attractive woman, just not a whole lot of notoriety about her. She wasn't what they were typically looking for in the actual competition. But as soon as she opened her mouth and started singing, it blew people away. She nailed an incredibly difficult song. What was it? She sung I Dream a Dream from Les Mis. All right, if you haven't seen that, go back and look at it, because that is the best definition of awe that you can imagine, is this very unassuming woman stepping out there and just blowing the entire audience away. All right, and that video itself exploded overnight. All right, that was one of the original, not one of the original viral sensations, but a true blue viral sensation. It absolutely exploded because it blew people's minds. Now, you don't have to go that far for your marketing, but it's up to you to be able to find something that can actually capitalize on the concept of awe, on how to make people, how to kind of, like I said, blow people's mind with your marketing, with your product, with your brand, with the situation that you can apply to. All right, a situation for me, and this is my own personal thing. You can see my plaques back here. I was an Ironman triathlete 2 years ago. I watched every single Ironman from 1995 up till this year, and I've watched them multiple times. And the finish line is a moment that blows people away because you actually get to watch people achieve something amazing. All right, and people love that. They love to share in that type of emotion. They like to embody, or pardon me, put themselves in that person's place. And you see this in a lot of different advertising as well. You see people, you see brands show you the after. And what I mean by that is they show you where that person can be, where you can be once you invest in their product, once you buy their product, invest in their service. All right, they show you the after and they put you in there. They allow you to put yourself in somebody else's place. That's one of the reasons people like going to the Grand Canyon. They watch Susan Boyle. All right, they watch the Ironman over and over again as they can put themselves in that space and feel what it's like to be that person, to achieve that level of status. All right, and so you can do that with your marketing by showing people the after effects of your brand, of your product, or your service. You can show them what it's going to be like as long as they invest with you. Now, granted, that's not going to be a one and done shot. This is going to be something you have to cultivate, but the goal here is to transport them, all right, to put them in that emotional state that they want to be in, because that's why they're watching your product to begin with. That's why they react to your ads. They read your content. They tune into your live casts. They're here to put themselves in a different state. All right, so keep that in mind. It's your job as a marketer to elevate the status of a person, to move them up in the rankings, or move them up in the rankings of their own mind. Get them to believe that they are in that elevated status. All right, so that's Susan Boyle and the Ironman. Those are my two big examples, along with the Grand Canyon, of all. All right. So when we talk about different emotions in there, like I said, there's excitement, there's humor, there's anger, sadness, contentment. You can name all these different emotions. And what they found in all the studies is that if you can focus on the emotions that have a high intensity value to them, the emotions that get people fired up, get people riled up, you can find far more earned media using those high intensity emotions that you can with the low intensity. So on the high intensity side, we find awe, excitement, humor, and those are the positive ones. On the negative ones, we find anger and anxiety. Now, if we go over to the low intensity side, we find contentment and sadness. Contentment on the positive side and sadness on the negative. And those two are the ones that you generally want to stay away from. One of the ads that I like to pick on so much because it is such a great example of a well-meaning ad that did not do well, became a viral sensation, but for all the wrong reasons. And you know this one. It still airs today. Right? It is the Sarah McLachlan pet commercial. You know, the spoof of that says, "Hi, my name is Sarah McLachlan, and I'm about to ruin your whole fucking day. All right, we're going to play sad Sarah McLachlan songs over these shelter animals." All right, and it ruins everybody's days. It drags people down. It capitalizes on sadness and guilt. All right, and it tends to be something that people shy away from. Right? It doesn't call them to action, doesn't elevate their status, make them feel like they're doing something great. It literally just depresses people, and those ads tend to backfire more times than not, much like the Sarah McLachlan pet ads. All right, so concentrate on those high-intensity emotions, even if you want to go negative. Concentrate on the high-intensity ones of anger and anxiety before you ever go towards sadness. Concentrate on those. So a couple examples that I've got from you, and I've got one from one of the least sexiest topics around, and it's near and dear to my heart because I'm a search engine optimizer, is Google. Google had to find a way to make their very minimal interface, just their Google search box. It's never had anything more than that. They had to find a way to get that to stick in people's heads. All right, so back in 2009, they actually hired, it was Anthony Cafaro, they hired him to build a campaign around humanizing a very robotic brand. All right, and so to do this, he decided it was missing emotion. It didn't have any heart and soul to it. So what he did is found a way to relate search and search histories to people's emotions, to raise that emotional status. All right, he focused on love. He called it it was called the Parisian Love Campaign. And all it showed, it never broke camera, it just showed the search screen. All right, and it just showed a history of searches by one person, walking the viewers through the story of this man finding love in Paris. It started with study abroad in Paris. The next search was cafes near the Louvre. Next search was translate something in French that turns out to be French for you're very cute, how to impress a French girl, and so on and so forth. And finally, I believe it ends with how to assemble a crib. All right, and the tagline was search on. So it literally walks you through the different parts of this person's life, their love story. All right, even if it's just in that search box itself, it shows you the capabilities of the product, the brand, the service. It shows you how that even something as robotic as a simple search box or search engine can be so important to how people live their lives. Right? And they capitalized on emotion, because otherwise, search really doesn't matter a whole lot to the average person. It's not something we think about. All right? It's a lot like, like Apple's product concept. It has to work out of the box. That's what we expect from search. It just works. We don't care how. All right? But they were able to capitalize on the emotion behind why people search. And all of us tend to do that. We all search for the things that are most important to us. And that was their goal, is to get people back into that mindset that this process, even though it's just here to work for you, right, is meant to serve your life, to make your life that much better. Not just to find you pizza, but hopefully to get you from studying abroad in Paris all the way to assembling a crib. Right, so that was the Parisian Love story. Parisian Love by Google. Great campaign if you ever want to see it. Still exists. You can still find that one. All right, and you can go the opposite direction. You can go towards the negative emotions. All right, PSAs, public service announcements, tend to capitalize on this more than anybody else because they tend to advertise against people's will. All right, people don't want to eat healthy. They just want to eat. People don't want to exercise. They just want to be fit. All right, so it requires an extra bit of boost to get them to actually move in that direction. So I believe it was a campaign against sugar and fat. Right? So instead of trying to instead of showing, let's say, figures and numbers around how much sugar is in a drink or how much fat is in a specific meal, things like that people are accustomed to, they decided to show it literally. So instead of just giving people facts and figures, they show a guy opens a soda, and all that comes out of the soda is fat. It's just this chunky mess. I'm not going to link to it. I'm not going to describe it any further because it's honestly disgusting. All right, but the concept behind it hit people hard because it capitalized on that anxiety. It hit a negative emotion. All right, it still focused a little on, it showed guilt, but it capitalized on that anxious emotion in there, or that anxious emotion by showing how much fat was actually in a specific meal or specific drink. All right, and it's stuck in people's mind. It was an incredibly successful campaign, generated lots and lots of awareness, and you actually saw figures that came out of that campaign to support its success. It was a disgusting video, but it did so much good work in the process because they found a way to capitalize on that negative side of emotions. So positive or negative, you can do damage, but the goal with either of those emotions, hey, we got another person in there. The goal of either of these emotions is to make sure that they're of high intensity. Because when we care, when it's something that triggers that in our head, right, when we care, we share. That's where you get those earned media from. Right, so those high intensity emotions, those are the big ones you want to concentrate on. Now, if you remember in the beginning of this, I said motion creates emotion. Now, a study they did, they took 100 people, stuck 50 people in one room, 50 people in the next, gave them the same task. It was reading through a bunch of headlines and being able to email out the headlines to people they saw fit. All right, not a whole lot of variation in there. With the first group, they had them sit down for 60 seconds and then go through the emails. With the second group, they had them jog in place and then go through the emails. All right, and sure enough, the group that jogged, the group that was in motion, that actually had some sort of physiological response going on, shared more articles than the group that just sat there and did nothing. All right, so the old adage, like I said, motion creates emotion, is true. It is incredibly true. And your goal there, the way that you can start to use this is by capitalizing on the time periods when people are already in motion, when they are predisposed to sharing content. Think about the last time that you went to the gym. Now, January coming up, the gym is going to be packed for the first 3 weeks of the year. People are getting back into the stream of things. I want you to look around the ads that you see in the gym. All right, not just the ads that are playing on TV, the ones that are on the wall, and also the ones that pop up on your Facebook, on your social media, on your Facebook and your Twitter. Look at the ads in there because they're going to be targeted directly towards you and towards your lifestyle, towards that lifestyle. All right, they're going to be all about fitness, health, wellness, mental capacity. They're going to be all about achieving that new you in the new year, and it's for a very specific reason. It's because you are predisposed to sharing and interacting with content. In that moment, in that time period where you're active, you are the most vulnerable to ads because your mind is ready to share content. Now, from the user side, this can work against you. You can find yourself oversharing way too much at these moments. So from the user side, be careful. From the marketer side, capitalize because this is your golden hour. This is when you can really get a lot of traction and a lot of earned media by capitalizing on the fact that people are already in motion. For those of you who are Twitter users, all right, one thing that Twitter holds in their targeting methods better than anybody else is television targeting, because Twitter is a very usable platform when it comes to people watching TV. They scroll through Twitter, they live tweet, they talk about the shows they're watching, and this capitalizes on the fact as well. Goes to the same concept as the gym, as Twitter allows you to target television audiences. So when a television audience is running, you have the ability to target your ads specifically towards the people that are watching that show. All right, it's part of the second screen and third screen phenomenon, but it allows you to capitalize on the times when people are most engaged with a specific topic. All right, so you have a lot of options there to actually get in front of people at those right moments when they're predisposed to sharing your content, to interacting with your content. All right, so those are the big ones we're going to be concentrating on with emotion. As always, I've got your 3 action items for the day. So what we're going to be looking at, all right, first off, 1, I want you to start with positive emotions. So look down the list here of all excitement and humor and find topics or brainstorm topics about your brand in those areas. What's funny about your brand or the situation? All right, what's exciting? What creates awe around the entire concept? All right, look broader than just your product. Look at the whole market, the environment that your product sits in, and outline topics in those areas. Because now you can start to capitalize on the emotion that surrounds those things, and people will start to not just share your content, but to care a little more about it. They will associate your brand with that specific area and how it can elevate their status in that area, in that response. All right, 2, I want you to go negative. Look at the negative emotions, the negative high-intensity emotions of anger and anxiety. All right, and outline topics in there. What makes people anxious about that specific topic? All right, so take your brand and again look at the overall environment. If you make cribs, what makes you angry or anxious about having a kid? All right, look at those different areas in there and how you can create content to support those emotions, one way or the other. Support that emotion. All right, and 3, find fires. Your goal with finding fires is figuring out when people are most predisposed to sharing your content. So when they're in motion, right? When they're in motion. So think about the gym, when they're already moving. All right? And then make sure there's a logical connection. So if you are Hardee's or some other terrible fast food chain, I focus on Hardee's, home of the meatloaf burger. If you're them, don't advertise at the gym. All right, people are in motion, but there's no logical connection between your brand and the environment that you're in. So when you're finding a fire, make sure that there's a logical connection to your brand, because if it's off or if it's in the wrong place, it's going to stand out for the wrong reasons and you're not going to get the response that you want. All right, so those are your 3. I'll put them down here in the comments below for y'all. All right, so start positive, go negative, and then find the fires that you can capitalize on. Those are your big 3 for targeting emotions with your advertising.